Okay, so revision point for each of the products, brownies, muffins, and cupcakes, we're going to work out the return. Thus, throughput for each one of the bottlenecks. So for each one of the bottleneck resource mixing, so I go like this. Throughput is 1.5. Selling price minus 0.25 material costs, which is the only variable costs in throughput accounting. Muffins, selling price 1.4 minus material cost 0.15. Cupcakes, selling price 2 minus material 0.25. I am told mixing is a bottleneck. Each of the cakes requires respectively 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 12 minutes in mixing the bottleneck. Friends, there's a problem. The time is per batch, but the throughput is per unit. So I've got to also calculate the throughput per batch to get the calculations consistent. So I've got to work out the throughput per batch, which means 1.25 times. You see, if you have the batch size to be 40, so each batch that you are saying you are calculating throughput for has got 40 units. So if I have 1.25 per unit times 40 units, I've got $50 per batch of 40. Muffins have got 30 units inside the batch. So 1.25 for each of the units in the box times 30 units in the box. And then cupcakes has got 20 units in the box. So times 20. So now I can go ahead and calculate the return per bottleneck. And this is where the trouble is, being consistent with the calculations when you have fractions. So return, which is throughput per unit or per minute in mixing. 50 divided by 20 is that some 2.5. Oh, what did I do? That's 7.5 divided by 15. Also 2.5. That's 7.5 divided by 15. Why is it also 2.5? Does that not write questions like that? Let me see. 1.4 minus 0.15, I got 1.25 times 30 units. Okay. Divided by the time required is 16. It's 2016 and 12. 2016 and 12. So 37.5 divided by 16 is 2.34. Then 35 divided by 12 is 2.92. In the face of limitation of resources, you rank them. C comes first, 2.92. B comes second. And M comes third. Question says, mixing is the bottleneck, and there are only 120 minutes on that day. Mixing minutes available, 120. We've got to produce cupcakes first, followed by, and produce the maximum, followed by brownish, then followed by muffins. But we also have another constraint. The constraint is that we've got to produce the minimum for the cafe. The minimum daily demand is required for a long-term contract with a local cafe and must be met. So if the cafe needs 30, how many batches should we make? We should make 30 units. Problem we have is that the batch size is 40. In other words, you can't produce a batch of less than 40 units. So although the local cafe needs 30 only, that calls for the setup and production of one batch. So minimum must be produced for the minimum brownies, minimum muffins, minimum cakes must be produced for the cafe. So I'm going to produce brownies for cafe. 30, but I'm going to produce one batch. And that one batch means I've got 40 units inside. One batch in mixing requires 20 minutes. Then I'm also going to make muffins for the cafe. The cafe needs 30 units. Sorry, the batch size is 30. The cafe needs 20. I cannot produce less than 20. I must set up the batch to produce 30. So I'm going to produce one batch, and I know that one batch is 30 units. 1 times, they need 16 minutes there. So that will also use up 16 minutes. Then the minimum must also be produced. Cupcakes for the cafe must also be produced. The cafe needs 10 only, but the batch size must be 20. So I'm going to produce one batch, which is equal to 20 units. One batch times, it requires 12 minutes. It will need 12. So after producing the minimum of B, M, and C for the cafe, what's the time remaining of the 120? (120 minus 20 is 100, minus 16 and 12 is 28. So time remaining is 72. Now, I need to now pay attention to the products according to their ranking now. Cupcakes is first. So extra cupcakes above the minimum. In all, 100 units, 20 units in a batch is 5 batches. We've already produced 1 batch. So let's set ourselves up to produce 4 more batches. Cupcakes, 4 batches, 1 batch is 20, means 4 batches is 80 units. Each batch of cupcakes requires 12 minutes. So 4 batches times 12, we use our 48. I know by now you are asking what at all is happening here. Maybe you're asking. But please watch. If you have any question, ask. I'm just following what the examiner says the production process looks like. And this is what many people will oftentimes struggle with and leave the answer to chance. 72 minus 48, time remaining is what? Would that be 34? No, 24. This minus 4, 2, 24. That's the time remaining. I'm done with the first rank product. I'll go to the second product, brownish. 140 units, 40 units in a batch is 3.5. We already established that to be 4 batches. We produced 1 already. So we're going to produce 3 more. Brownies extra. We're going to produce 3 more batches. And if each batch is 40, 3 batches is 40 times 3, 120 units. 3 batches, the time for each batch is 20. All right, we don't have 60. All we have is 24. So friends, we cannot make all 3 batches. 24 divided by 20, we can only make 1 batch. We can only make 1 batch. That's all we have. That will use 20 minutes and leave us with 4 minutes unused. So we can only make 1 batch, which is equal to 40 units. Difficult question, if you ask me. They want to maximize profits. What's the optimal production plan? Look at the answers. They are in units. So brownish, they've got to make 40 units plus 40 units. So they've got to make 80 brownish. I will go for option number A, 80 brownish. You and I can confirm 80 brownies. How many muffins? Muffins, 30. And that's it. Muffins is 30. They can't produce any extra. Cupcakes, produce 20 units plus 80 units. Sorry, cupcakes, 20 plus 80, 100. So that confirms it. Produce 80 brownies, 30 muffins, 100 cupcakes. This work must be done in 3.6 minutes. That's quite stressful, and most people cannot. So have a strategy for it anyway. But let me show you something. Let me show you a trick. It's a difficult question. But if you can remember that, look, we've got to rank the products return on the basis of return per unit of the bottleneck. The minimum for the cafe must be met. So no matter what, you have to produce something of everything. So the answer that says I should make 0 brownies, I'll eliminate it. It doesn't make sense. produce 0 muffins. It doesn't make sense. So already from the word go, I'll eliminate answer B and C. Look, if I eliminate B and C and I don't even have time, it's easier for me to get it more correct or correct to if I'm left to choose between A and D. So friends, multiple choice questions. Look at the options. If it looks difficult, whether narrative or calculation, try to do some elimination. The minimum must be met. So why should we ever think about producing 0 of a product? So B and C are out. Then I can think about A and D and make my guess based on that. Friends, sometimes in this world, some people have made it out of lack, not being excellent in the classroom or excellent on the field of play, but just lack. So you could also make it here with lack sometimes. All right, especially if you are constrained with time. Next requirement, we did that already, and I showed you exam technique that required us to come here first and do this before going to the difficult ones, the calculations. On Friday, due to a local food festival at the weekend, Sweet Trees Bakery is considering increasing its production of cupcakes. These cupcakes can be sold at the festival at the existing selling price. So they want to produce more than 100 units. In batches of 20, they want to produce more than 5 batches. The company has unlimited capacity for weighing and mixing on Friday. So weighing and mixing on Friday are not limiting factors, bottlenecks. But its existing 3 ovens are already fully utilized. Therefore, in order to supply cupcakes to the festival, the company will need to hire another identical oven at a cost of $45 for the day. How much will profit increase by if the company hires the new oven and produces as many cupcakes as possible? These answers honestly do not look to me like I can eliminate anything. Profits will increase by 55, 140, 95, 31. All right. If you hire another oven, I don't know if you have an idea at this point. If you hire another oven, what will happen? The question said or mentioned somewhere already that ovens, let's go back there again. The baking stage of the process is done in 3 ovens, which can each be used for 8 hours a day, 8 hours a day. So if I rent another oven, that one oven will give me how many hours more? It will give me extra 8 hours on that day. So the implication of hiring one oven, let's read that again. The baking stage of the process is done in 3 ovens, which can each be used for 8 hours a day. So that extra oven I hire will be used for 8 hours on that day, and 8 hours in terms of minutes. Where's my calculator? Sometimes right in front of your face, but because you are doing a lot of work, 8 times 60, that's 480 minutes. We are talking about cupcakes. Cupcakes in the oven require 120 minutes. So friends, 120 minutes per batch. So if you give me an extra oven, 120 minutes per batch divided by 480 minutes available I can make, does that make sense? Or is the other way around? Is the other way around? If I've got 480 minutes and each batch requires 120, so how many batches can I get in a 480 minutes? So 480 divided by 120, I can make 4 extra batches. So simply put, that extra oven I hire on Friday, specifically for making extra cupcakes, can make 4 extra batches of cupcakes. Okay, if you can make 4 extra batches of cupcakes, and a cupcake is giving me throughput of 2 minus 0.25, that's selling price minus material cost for a unit, and there are 20 units in the batch, 2 minus 0.25, minus 0.25 is throughput or contribution, throughput contribution of 1.75 per unit times 20 units is $35 for each batch, and the ovens will help me do 4 batches. So the extra contribution that the extra oven hired will give me is 140. How much will profit increase by if the company hires the new oven? $140, the hiring cost. We're told the oven will be hired at a cost of $45 for the day. So what an extra oven does for me is that it increases profit by 140 minus 45, $95. And so I'll select this from the dropdown. Friends, I will not sit down here teaching, and from my perspective, I'll pretend that it's easy. It's not easy. It's challenging, not difficult. It's challenging and requires your time to think through. Oh, I've got an extra oven. What can the extra oven do for me? What it can do for me is the benefit minus the cost of getting the oven. That gives me the extra profit that the company will make as a result of hiring an extra oven to solve a bottleneck problem in the question. So I will pull this down and select 95. Exam technique, if it's taking you too long, it either means you spend all the time and get it incorrect, or you spend all the time and not even get it at all. So leave it, flag it for review, come back to it, and if there's no time, A, B, C, D, take a close look at them and see which one of them will make more sense to you, and leave it to chance. Unfortunately, the reality is that sometimes we've got to leave some things to chance. All right. Next question was when the image was not coming for me, and it's still not coming. I don't know. I left here and I came back and it's still not coming up for me. Is somebody working with me? Can you see what's there? Indicate by clicking on the relevant boxes. That shows is some kind of how do you call that? Hot area. It's still not come for me. I came here and I left and I came back and it's still not pulling up for me. Anybody got that? What is there?
Oh, it's not showing.
It's not showing for you too. Oh,
Yes,
I wanted to say it's my internet here. If it's not showing, then sorry, but I don't know why. Okay. So at this point, what I want to do is to end the exam. Maybe when we go to review the answers, it will come up, then I'll copy and paste into my notes because I can't leave this for another day. So friends, that's it for Sweet Treats Bakery. If you ask my opinion, that's a very sweet question on throughput accounting, which is a very popular topic in PM, but which is not popular among students. So Navigator, let me end this exam. Go to last question. Scroll up and down, left and right if I must. Next to end the exam. End exam. Yes, end exam. Exit. Go to the mark tab. PM, past and practice exams. Practice exam 2, which we've just ended now. We did only 4 questions. So if we are right on them, we should be scoring 8. Okay, we've got 8% because in this exam, we've done only 4 questions. Is the last of them that was not showing up. Question number 30. It's still not showing up here too. Question stem, show the question stem. Indicate by clicking on the relevant boxes in the table below whether each of the following statements about the throughput accounting ratio for the previous week are true or false. Click here to see the sample answer. I'm wondering what is there. I've solved this question before, but I definitely don't remember what is here to choose from. But in the previous week, the weighing process was the bottleneck, and the resulting throughput accounting ratio for the bakery was 1.45. Indicate by clicking on the relevant boxes in the table below whether each of the following statements about the throughput accounting ratio 1.45 for the previous week are true or false. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but and you've also confirmed you can't see it too. That's strange. As the throughput accounting ratio exceeds 1, then the throughput contribution exceeds operating costs. Okay, so statement 1 is definitely about the fact that 1.45, what does it mean? It means that the throughput is bigger than the cost, so the product is profitable. So I'm sure statement 1 made a statement that the operating costs were rather more than the throughput contribution, so it's false. Statement 2, less idle time on a bottleneck process will not improve the throughput accounting ratio. Okay, so I'm sure the statement there is that a non-bottleneck, we want to ensure there's less idle time. Well, if it's a non-bottleneck, it means that it's not our problem. So getting people to reduce the idle time will not solve our problem for us. In other words, getting people to be more efficient on a non-bottleneck, when you have not yet solved the problem on the bottleneck, doesn't solve any problem for you. You are just stopping the bleeding. You are not stopping the problem itself. 3, improving efficiency during the weighing process would improve the throughput accounting ratio, as any actions to improve throughput on a bottleneck will improve the throughput accounting ratio. So statement 3 is true. So it looks like statement 3 made the point that weighing is a bottleneck, and so improving efficiency there, making sure people are more efficient working in that process will help to improve the throughput accounting ratio should be true, because it means that we can now do more. If you can do more, then you improve the throughput accounting ratio. Unfortunate that everything is not coming up. When I'm ready to send the notes to you, when I'm compiling them and I try again, it comes up, I'll copy and paste that also into the note again. But look, the most important thing is that get in there yourself and do it again. 5 questions, do it again and see how you fare. Okay, any questions? We've got 10 minutes remaining on my Zoom clock here. I'm sure we'll be checking out, coming back immediately, no break. And I want to open up at chapter 2. Look at revision questions on activity-based costing. Life cycle, target costing, environmental management accounting, in my estimation, they are quite smaller. But throughput accounting and ABC are quite bigger. So let's look at questions on ABC when we come back. And then probably that will be the last round of 14 minutes for the morning. We'll discuss what I want to do with you next week. All right, so let's pause it here and we return immediately, friends.